Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I have to do this off my phone due to the fact of my internet went down on in the building here, and I can't use my computer. So a lot of comments I cannot go over and read. But let's go back to the top right here. Scott's Aquatics. Good morning, Monster Fish Gal. Good morning, Lori. I see that you get your package, which is great. Misfit Reptiles and Aquatics. Good morning. Scott's Aquatics. Perfect. So we're here. It's Wednesday morning. Got my coffee. Got to drink that right here. I'm doing a lot of water changes this week. So keeps me kind of busy. Got more water changes set up today. What I'm going to end up doing pretty soon is a lot of my tanks have been running for a few years off the buffering substrate, and the buffering substrate is starting to lose the buffering components of it. So I need to do some resets in the tank, which I'll do some videos on some resets. Just got to wait for the products to come on in. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about how to keep shrimp and breed shrimp. So you guys have questions, fire away. I can start talking to you about them. Let's start off with the basic cares. Let's go Neocaridinas. Neocaridinas are considered one of the easier shrimp to have and breed. The only reason why they consider them easier is because you can actually just use tap water. Anything that can be done in tap water is considered easy because you don't have to have RODI system. I like using an RODI system because I don't like the city depleting what goes in my water. So obviously, good morning, Chat New Egg. Hey, Ed, I did a video for you, by the way, too. I did a video for some PSA reveals. I got a bunch of brilliant stars that I'm going to end up doing a video on, too, for you. But no, I did a 84 card that I got sent into CGC for grading, and it came back, so I did a video for you. I set up this live stream last night, guys, so everybody should have got notifications. If you're not getting the notifications, you have to go back on my YouTube and hit those, get notifications on there, hit the follow and everything else. That's kind of like on you guys. I thank you guys for subscribing, but you have to hit the follow button too. But anyways, Neocaridinas are considered easy because you can use tap water on there. So the ideal water parameters are mid-7s with the GH of 6 to 8, KH of 4 to 6. No heater in there, so ideal temperatures would be 68 to about 72. If you're going for a TDS version, it's 220 to 300 is ideal for breeding. It's a GH of 6 to 8, KH of 4 to 6. Now, every state is a little bit different. And I know there's a lot of videos out there saying, hey, how can you get my shrimp to breed in the wintertime? You're in Minnesota, they ain't going to breed in the wintertime. We have some weather changes where they can spike a freaking a pregnancy. But for the most part, with the barometer drop, so if anybody's familiar with ice fishing and stuff, when it gets cold, the barometer drops. So when the barometer drops, the water pressure changes in the aquarium and stuff. And I know there's tons of videos telling people, or maybe not tons, there's a few videos out there saying, look, if you do this, you'll get them breed in the wintertime. I mean, yes, there's ways that when it starts warming up, the barometer rises and you can trigger a water change, which will trigger a pregnancy on there. But for the most part, in Minnesota, it doesn't happen. So, Driftwood Aqua, how you doing? Good morning. Check your egg. Love you. Let me know if you need anything when you get back from the doctors and stuff. Just shoot me a message. I got you, bud. The second type of shrimp is Caridina shrimp. So Caridina shrimp are a lot of people consider harder. I actually consider them easier because if you use tap water anyways, you just have to add GH versus GHKH, which is one less chemical in there. So ideally, it's mid-6s for the pH. Temp is the same thing, 68 to about 72 degrees. If you're going for a TDS, it's 115 to 130, which is GH of 4 to 5 and with 0 KH. You also need a buffering substrate, which is an active soil on there. What's up, bud? Huh? I might have some soy sauce. It might be either in the bag or in the cups. I don't think there is, though. I think we didn't have any. What'd you get to eat? I'm hungry. He's got some leftovers, guys. Yeah, we're doing a live stream. We'll talk about food. I don't care. I'm a foodie. So, no soy sauce for you. That was Cody. He's eating leftovers, so good morning. Just comes in looking for soy sauce. Everybody knows I'm a foodie, so of course everybody looks on the desk. Does Joe have soy sauce? He's got barbecue sauce. He's got salad dressing. He's got garlic butter. He's got everything there but soy sauce. So ideally, how I do it is for a bowl shrimp, I go over and I put almond leaves in the tank in the aquarium. Almond leaves are great for like a scavenger food. The bacteria eats it, the sugars on the almond leaf, and then the shrimp go ahead and eat that. So I always keep a piece of almond leaf in there, just in case you don't know how much to feed in the aquarium. Now, I use a few different products for food. My main product is Shrimp King. I use the Complete and I use the Baby. So it's super awesome. We just kind of get a video here. All right. So I use Shrimp King Complete twice a week, and then when I have babies in the tank, I use the baby food, which is a great powder form. When you have pregnant shrimp and you have babies, you should use a powder form due to the fact of when you drop a pellet in there, the babies, and sometimes the pregnant moms, if they're a ways, far gone, Atkins Nature Aquarium is how you do it, I will not go after the pellet, so powder form is nice. Don't overfeed your aquarium. That's the biggest thing. If you have a smaller aquarium and you overfeed it, you're going to follow your water and you're going to start having deaths. I had one of my part-time employee go over and do some feedings while I was at Aquashella and followed the water on the 2.5 gallon tanks, and I had a lot of random deaths going in the tanks. We did water changes in there. Danny's messaging me right now if we want to bring lunch and stuff. I'm still drinking coffee too. But yeah, that's what I end up using. I do a water change once every 2 weeks. I do a 25% water change. When I do my cleaning of the tank, I use the small Python filter. It's called small regular. Clean up the nice substrate on there. Everybody says, do you have to have plants in your aquarium? You don't have to have plants in your aquarium, but it's good to have plants in the aquarium. It makes them feel more natural in the aquarium, and it looks aesthetically pleasing. But you don't necessarily have to have plants in your aquarium. I'm going to be doing the relaunches on these tanks, these aquariums. I'm also going to get rid of some of my 5 gallon tanks. Just put 10 gallon tanks there. AJ Oliver. So I got a lot of stuff to do, and I got to finish up the expansion of the store here. I'm possibly looking at a standalone store, AJL. You're only 6 minutes late. Is that all it is? 6 minutes? I'm using my phone this time, so I don't see the time. It's hard for me to comment on stuff because it's like super small print. But yeah, I'll be doing an expansion. I want to do a standalone. I think it would be ideal for me to do a standalone because then I can actually set up a store the way I want. I mean, I love the way I have the store right now, but ideally, I want a certain look, and it's hard when I share a spot with someone to get that certain look. I kind of want to have it as an experience. If you guys come here and you have an experience right now, it's people come in like, oh my god, it's super cool and stuff, but I want an experience. I want to do more show tanks, more aquascaping. I love aquascaping, as you see by this tank right here. I love aquascaping. Also guys, coming after my stream now is Jess with the members only stream on Mains, Tails, Fur, and Fins. Otherwise, she's normally on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. Central to 11 a.m. Central. Flip Aquatics, he's been busy with him having a kid and everything else, so he hasn't been doing the live stream right before me. It is what it is. But for the care for your shrimp, let's go back to like tank size and stuff. Everybody sees me doing it in 2.5s, and everyone wants to do it in 2.5s. Now, the reason why I did 2.5s is back in the day when you could sell and buy shrimp on Facebook, a Papa Shrimp, what happened was I would over order shrimp and I would get shrimp at my place, and long and behold, I need a tank set up really fast. So 2.5s are easier because I can take water out of a older tank and a part of a sponge filter and get the tank cycled really fast, and then go over and use a product called Probiotic Startup, which I love because it binds with the startup. One of the little vials binds with the ammonia, so it doesn't like do a big ammonia spike in your tank. The ammonia is still going to be there, but it's going to be bonded with something, so you don't have big spike. And then I had a lot of baby survival with that, so I just keep on using the product. And then, so I just tell people, a 5-gallon tank is a decent sized tank on there. It just works really well. So I'm going to put this comment, this show afterwards. That's Jess's for the members only post right there. And I know she'll be doing a live right after me. I do believe you have to go on her page and go to the community section, and then it'll be a members only. So, you have to become a member on there. I also want to thank all my members that are a member on this page. If you're not a member yet, please, hit the member on there. So let's shut this down. There we go. I know it's kind of like when I do my lives, it seems like it's like I fumble. It's because I'm talking to myself, basically, is like talking out loud to myself, and it kind of feels weird. So I like when you guys ask questions, because then I can just answer the questions. I want to thank everybody that made it down to Aquashella Orlando. I had fun meeting everybody. Had super fun. That's some strong coffee. What I thought was nice is I got this little from Bad Fish, and I had this where it's like, oh, you can talk to me, and then if I get super frustrated and stuff, just turn inside out. I'm gonna see if I can get these wholesale to me, and it's reversible. I kind of like this, so I have it here at the store for people. So I get pretty busy around here. But yeah, keeping shrimp is simple. It's aesthetically looking nice in your tank. It's also a good profit margin for having, like if you're trying to like have something that's going to sustain your aquatic dream, your passion. I tell people all the time, like, hey, this is the color I would do if you want to make a profit. Everybody's like, well, I don't want to make a profit. I just want to have these in the tank. Well, it's nice to have something that can breed and you can sell, that can help support your hobby, or addiction, as we call it. So it's one of those things where it's just like it's here nor there if you want to sell your shrimp or breed. What I would do is I would go to your local fish store and ask your local fish store, hey, if I breed some shrimp, what color shrimps would you want, and then work out a price with them. So a lot of times people go over and think that, hey, I'm going to breed these shrimp. I paid $5.50 a piece for them. I'm going to sell them to the store at $5.50. It doesn't work out where you sell them for $5.50. It's just we have to make a profit margin, otherwise it ends up being $20 a shrimp, and nobody wants to pay that much. Please keep in mind that if anybody's getting like certain shrimps, like a lot of Caridinas I get from Vin, the cost for shipping is just stupid, like stupid. But so I had to raise the prices a little bit on the shrimp. It is what it is. It's since COVID happened, the price has been going up for shipping, and it just came to a point where I had to raise my prices a little bit due to the fact of I keep on losing money with the whole shipping process. But back to the breeding. So if you have a nice aquarium, let's say a 5 or a 10, let's base it on a 10-gallon tank. Most people have a 10-gallon tank and they want to set it up for a 10-gallon tank. So Neocardinas, you're going to use an inert substrate, which is like sand. You can use EcoComplete. I had a problem back when I started 7 years ago with EcoComplete. All of a sudden, I had some random deaths in there and couldn't explain it. EcoComplete is this basically crushed lava with a little bit of bacteria in there, and that's it. It's not like everybody thinks this is bee's knees soil. It's not. Use sand. It's so much easier. Can you use active soil with Neocaridinas? Yes, you can. You can put active soil in there, and by putting KH in there, which is in your water, it'll neutralize the whole buffering components on there. So you might get it to buffer down for a little bit, but what's going to happen is, because the tank wants the soil wants to constantly bring down the pH, and the KH is trying to keep it up, the KH is going to end up winning, and it's going to end up being a nutrient-rich soil that doesn't buffer anymore. So yes, you can use an active soil on there. And we can kind of talk about some soil too in a second. And then on the Caridinas, you need to have the active soil, which lowers the pH in there. So there's different types of soil. Hey, New Look Austin, how you doing? Your thoughts on the under gravel filter box setup? Have you used that method? All right, Papa Shrimp. I love that question. Thank you. What he's talking about is there is a product that came out maybe, I want to say 5 years ago. It's a box about like this big. And it layers between, it's like an under gravel filter, and then you put your buffering soil in there, and some people put biomedia in there, they put more buffering soil, put it in the back corner of the tank, plug an air, put an air stone in there, and what happens is, because of the draw, like an under gravel filter, air going down, it draws water through, and of course the water goes through the box, and it lowers the pH. And that's made for more of like the breeders, because the soil's going to, deplete sooner or later, and either do it like me, you put all the soil down there, and then all of a sudden you have to take out all the soil or layer it or whatever else, or you do the method he's talking about. I have not done that method. I actually have bought some. It's not the boxes, because the boxes are I want to say they're roughly about $20 a piece. And it's just one of those ones where it's just like, it's just kind of, I moved some stuff there. I love you so much. It's too cool for schoolie. How you doing? All right. So what they have is what I bought. And I'll show you. I might try this. I want to see how much I can actually do. So it's the same concept right here. So it's the Lee's triple flow medium corner filter. I tried this one. I'm going to find out. I think I got it too small for a 10-gallon tank. Okay, but it's the same concept right here. So you end up plugging, there's the air stone in here and here. You end up plugging it in, going straight down here, and it causes the draw. You put the buffering substrate in here, and there's like little cracks in here that'll go. Now, I think for a 10-gallon tank, this is not enough. So I think this is good for a 5-gallon tank. I was thinking about trying it out, and that's where it's tough, because it's just like, I'm used to just putting soil in there, and I might just put soil. Filters up to 75 gallons per hour. So I like to turn my stuff over at least 8 times an hour. So for a 10-gallon tank, it might not do that well in there. I might just try it. I'm going to find out. So let's go back over here. Monster Fish Go Fish 2 Mafia t-shirt. Thank you. When do you sleep? I never sleep. Yeah, just kidding. I do sleep. So I'm just kind of I'm going back through here, reading the message. Thank you. Hey, Papa Shrimp. Yeah, Joe Shrimpshack, thank you on the Discord. Monster Fish Gal's listing it all on there. I did ship out the Fish 2 Mafia item that the person won too. They haven't messaged me back that they got it, but I did ship it out. Fish 2 Mafia shirt. There's the Fish 2 Mafia. If you guys want to be a part of the Fish 2 Mafia, there's where you buy the t-shirt. There's a link right there. I'm just kind of getting caught up on this. Morning, everyone. Multi-Tank Addiction. How you doing? All right. Boom. All right. So I haven't used that under gravel filter. Do I want to try it? There's a possibility on it. So the whole purpose, like back, I know I'm kind of like all over the place. Excuse me, guys. Coffee's kicking in. The whole purpose behind it is you put your buffering soil in this container, put it in the back corner. It's easier to clean the whole bottom of the tank versus having old debris and stuff. It's a lot easier just to suck it all up. Is it something that we might want to consider? I might try it. I'm going to be honest. I might try it, but I'm unsure on it. We're going to find out. I'm going to do a couple tanks with it, a couple tanks without. So, yeah, a lot of active soil only is good for, they say like you should change it out every year, every 2 years. Some of my soil has been going for 4 years, and it's finally losing the buffer components. So I need to go over and change the stuff out. I did talk to some of my sponsors, and they did say they'll sponsor some soil. It's when you have this many tanks, it's kind of expensive. So I wanted to get that kind of sponsored with me and everything else. So the next water change, what I think I'll do is I will do that on there. So And of course, I got to catch all the shrimp. So how you normally do it is, you know, you kind of catch the shrimp, put the shrimp in there, because a lot of times you can put the shrimp in the in the in the little. I have these little specimen jars, and you can put a little bit of soil in there, and then put the shrimp in there, and they'll last for a few days for the most part because you're using a sponge filter. It's a seeded sponge filter, so it's gonna cycle your tank really fast because you're basically seeding it. Um, so we're gonna find out. I'm gonna end up doing that. I need to do it. I need to get a hold of a couple more people and see what they want to sponsor. But yeah, so back to the care of shrimp. I know I have a talk and I gave a talk on it. It's so hard when I don't have my notes because, yeah, I feel weird when I talk to myself right here. But this is what I do on Wednesdays. So, um, so let's go back. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back to Neocardinas since it's the most easiest one. So if you use tap water, use a little bit of prime. All you need for prime is 2 drops per 5-gallon aquarium. On that, if you use a RO system, or you want to use RO system, which I highly recommend for RO, just the fact of you get into what's in there. There's remineralizers out there. So the remineralizers you're going to want is a remineralizer that has GH and GHKH. So GH and a KH. A lot of times people use the CChem products, the pH up or whatever. I don't like using that. I don't like putting that type of chemical in my tank due to the fact of sooner or later it's going to deplete itself and you're going to have a crash. So use the products what you're supposed to use. I also recommend to people that if you're going to get into shrimp, use products that are made by shrimp companies that specialize in shrimp because they have paid for the research for it. They know the products that they're doing versus a company that's trying to get get a portion of the market and stuff. And then so you got the sand is ideal for the Neocaridinas. I put a little piece of cholla wood in there. I put a little piece of almond leaf. I use a dual sponge filter. Let it go. So I go through the full cycle, but I usually never put shrimp in there for 30 days. And how I do it is when I set up a new tank, brand spanking new, I put about 5 shrimp in there after 30 days. After 30 days, I put 5 shrimp. If they make it 10 days, then I put 10 shrimp in there. So now I have 15 shrimp in that aquarium. And then I let it go for a couple weeks. So in that 15 shrimp, I can go over it after that tank. It's usually about 2 months. Then I can go ahead and add, the rest of my colony. If I want to add 50 more shrimp, I can in there. A 10-gallon aquarium, you can have a lot of shrimp. Their bioload is low. So if you're not overfeeding and to follow the water, you can put a lot of shrimp in there. I like to start a colony between 10 and 15. Of course, I use this concept of the size of the tank is like a state fair, Minnesota State Fair. Any state fair that you guys go to and stuff. If I walk in one entrance over here and you walk in one entrance over here, and there's a lot of people here, we don't have a phone, are we going to ever find each other? Probably not. So if you have a 120-gallon tank and you only put 5 shrimp in there, they're probably not going to breed. It's just the tank is too big. You need to add more shrimp in there. And then everybody talks about the colors. I want to mix colors. I mean, you can mix colors in the Neocaridinas, but what's going to happen is red and blue doesn't make purple. Red and blue makes brown, like a wild color. Any color mixing makes a wild color. Now, there's others like palmitos and different types of the catagalons and everything where there's subspecies where you can put them in there and they won't. And that's where I say, just talk to your local expert around you. They should be able to explain it to you. Now, what I like to do is there is some Caridinas that are sustainable in Neocaridina parameters, like the tigers. The tangerine tigers is ideal for it. You can acclimate it to soft water or hard water. There is the zebra booties. I had a breeder took my raccoon shrimp that were in Caridina parameters and acclimated them to Neocaridina parameters. I actually have those at my store here too, so that's pretty cool. But the whole concept of people trying to invent the wheel once again. I'm going to come up with a new species of Neocaridina. All the Neocardinas have been, they're out. You can't make a new one. They're all out. What's nice about it though is you can put a blue dream in there, and you can put a snowball in there because it's a palomito, and not worry about them interbreeding and producing the wild color. Another thing I like to talk to people about is the concept of your tank. If you're going to set up a brand new tank, what is your end goal in this tank? You know, do you want to have just Neocaridinas, or do you want to have fish? Okay, if you want to have fish, what type of fish do you want? Let's look at that. Good morning, Crypt Keeper. Yeah, I'm kind of like going winging because nobody's asking questions, so I kind of like I'm talking to myself here. I'm looking at myself on the camera, and I feel weird. Hey, I feel like I'm in the bathroom talking to a mirror and stuff. But it's just one of those things where it's super easy to raise shrimp. It's my motto. I tell people is set up your tank, put your shrimp in the tank, and leave them alone. Everybody wants to go over and start messing around with aquariums and stuff, and then they go over and say, hey Joe, why are my shrimp breeding? Because you're messing with the tank. Set up the tank, put your shrimp in there, feed them like you're supposed to, do your water change like you're supposed to, and leave them alone. If you're getting algae, let's look at what's causing that algae. Do you have the lights on for too long? Planted tanks only need lights for 4 to 5 hours. That's the reason why my store's only open for 5 hours, because my lights only stay on for 5 hours, and I don't have algae in my tanks. Proper water changes. A lot of times people will do a water change and just scoop out the water and, okay, I'm done. They don't realize to vacuum the substrates. So what happens is when you have fish and shrimp and you feed, they don't eat all the food. It goes on the substrate. And then when they poop, fish do poop, so do shrimp. It gets built down in the substrate. And what happens is as it gets down further in the substrate, it starts rotting. And when it rots, you have either A, you can start producing cyanobacteria, or B, you can go over and have an ammonia bubble underneath there. So when you do mix in the substrate, it floats up. So do proper water changes and proper cleaning. I mean, it's just when you take a bath, you just go in the shower, no soap, and then get out, or do you actually scrub yourself? I mean, it's the same concept. So Crypt Keeper says, which shrimp, boom, which shrimp from your store will always breed true? Setting up a rack, want to keep pure lines for now, and then set up another rack across to breed them. Okay, perfect. Glad you asked that, because I was actually thinking about that, and then I lost my train of thought on that one. Okay. All the Neocaridinas, like the Davidii, the blues, the reds, orange, yellows, rillies, red rillies, blackberries, onyx, etc., etc., etc. They all come from a certain color shrimp. It's a wild shrimp. It looks wild. What happened is, as times went by, they started throwing out different colors, and people were going over and taking that, like all the reds. They took all the reds that popped out, put it in a tank, and started breeding them. So as time went by, they start breeding true. Now, no matter what happens, you can have a PFR colony that's been going for 20 years. The percentage of getting a random color shrimp out of there drops smaller and smaller every time there's a generation goes by. But there is that possibility that every once in a while you might get a random color out of there. Just take it out. It's a call, put it in a different tank, or find a store, give it to a store. But there is that small possibility. I try to explain to people, a wild shrimp is 100, and then let's say you get a red that pops out of male, and you breed it, then it's 50-50, and then you keep on going down. There's 25, 25, 25, 25, and just the number keeps on going down smaller and smaller to a point where the percentage is so small that it's super rare to pop out. But a lot of lines, like my number one selling shrimp in the whole store, my number one selling item in the whole store is Blue Dreams. People love the Blue Dreams. I sell tons of them. But if that answers your question, cool. That's what I would do is on there. How do you clean your sand substrate? Perfect. Let me get my tool, which, of course, my buddy. I know he's got a little bit of OCD on his stuff, but it's like I'm trying to I kind of told him how I wanted things set up in my store, and he's like, "Well, I like to do it this way," and I'm like, "Well, it's fine how you do it this way, but it doesn't work for me." All right, this is what I use. Okay, this is my Python. It's called Python Small. And this is just the regular size. So if you go to order and you order like the small, the tube is only like this long. So don't even look at this right here, like this long. I don't like that. I like the little bit longer one. All right. So I like the smaller tube. This is a little bit larger than, let me get to the end. This is a little bit larger than airline tube. Why I use this is because you can actually go over and take water out of your tank slower than the larger pythons so you can get a proper cleaning. Now, when everybody uses these pythons, this is what I always watch. And I saw my employee do this. So here's the substrate. What they do is they start the siphon and they're going down like this, and they're going really fast. That doesn't clean your substrate. You need to go straight down, and what happens is the sand builds up here, and what you do is you lift up slowly. What happens is the water causes like a little hurricane and spins it around, and you'll see all the poop and debris float up. So how you're doing is you're actually going down, up. You're going slow. And what happens is if you start seeing your soil build up to a point, you're going too fast. What you do is you stop the line, you squeeze it, and what happens is it stops the flow, and all your sand will start falling down. When it gets down lower, just open it back up, and it'll start spinning it. Take your time and clean the substrates. I mean, this is ideal, like planted tanks, any type of fish tanks. I mean, having the right tools and knowing how to work those tools is what matters. I mean, I literally see people, or they like this and they mix up the substrate really fast, and then they're like, why did I have death in my tank? Because you just basically released all that ammonia in your tank. Take your time. Use a smaller python. It gives you more opportunities. I mean, I have 100 and some tanks here. Do it proper. Don't half-butt it, okay? Let's go to the next one. Hey, Skipper. How important is the TDS value in keeping Neocaridina? I'm on a well that's high levels. All right. I have had shrimp where the TDS is 400. I've had shrimp where the TDS is 480. I've had shrimp where the TDS is 800. I've had it. But there comes a point where us as breeders and sellers, we come to the happy medium, okay? 220 to 300. It's ideal. It's happy. But if I go and say, yeah, you can keep 400, then the next person says, well, mine's at 425. I'm fine. Joe said I could. And then if I say you're fine at 425, then you say it's 450. Ideally, the harder the water, because when your TDS goes up, more likely you have more KH in the water. When that happens, your water is harder. So then you're looking at 8.2. Then it's harder for the shrimp, and they stress out trying to molt. Shrimp need a molt every single month. And what happens if the water's too hard, they can't get their shell off. Then you have the ring of death, which is in back of their head. It looks like a little white line. It's called the ring of death. That means that they try to molt and they start breaking their back. So if your water is too hard, where your TDS is through the roof, and your pH is super high, go get some RO or distilled water. Go down to your local gas station or not a grocery store. Go buy it and do a water change with just that until your TDS drops back down to a happy parameter. Can you have it a little higher than 300? Yes, 100% you can. But it needs to come to a point where, like Eric Lucas, Flip Aquatics, all of us have decided that, hey, this is how we're going to keep our tank levels. And we just tell people that tank level because obviously, if you have the major sellers in the United States all keep their water parameters the same, then hopefully what happens, what you should do is when you buy shrimp, you should match your water parameters to their water parameters. Because if they're successful at doing it, then if you copy what they do, you're going to be successful. And that's where it's tough because I have a lot of people saying, hey, Joe, I bought your shrimp, but they died. And I'm like, what's your water parameters? Well, my pH is 8.4. I'm like, did you acclimate your shrimp? No, I just kind of like floated them and dropped them in there. Well, no, you need to acclimate them. So fish, you can do the plop and drop, which is you float the bag, the water gets up to temperature, and you can release them in there. It stresses them one time versus a drip acclimation. Shrimp, you need to go over and acclimate them. They need to get used to your water parameter versus my water parameter. But if you go over and keep the same identical water parameters, in theory, what you could do is get the bag up to the right temperature, and then you can release them in there. How I do, because I have a lot of shrimps, I have this little specimen cup. I drain out most of the water, and then I add some tank water to it so they get used to it, and then I release them in the tank. You should also never use the water that comes in bags when you buy shrimp. You should always drain that out. So the next one. Hey, y'all. Hey, Didi. Hey, Didi, I watched your video today. Thank you for getting your shrimp and putting it in there. I saw the pregnant one in there as well. Can we see one of your blue dreams? Yes, I can do that. Let me see if I can do this. Take this out. Gotta unplug it. All right, let's go for a little jaunt here. Since I'm using my phone. If I wasn't using my phone, I wouldn't. Let's see if I can turn this camera on 1 second here. More settings, camera, front, back. Boom. Super beautiful. I got 3 tanks of them. Here's like the mid-size. And then I got a bunch of peewees in here with some adults. Got these beautiful pumpkins that came in. Got the golden backs. So let me turn this camera back around. Yeah, there we go. So Blue Dreams have always been my number 1 selling item in the whole store. It's just, people love them. It's a beautiful color. Get this foam plug back in. So there's your Blue Dreams right there. Here's one for you. What if I can't clean my substrate sand since I have soil under my sand? A lot of people do that. A lot of people have been layering their aquariums. And of course, the dreaded, I pull a plant and all my soil or my dirt comes to the top right there. The problem you end up having is if it's layered like that, you're going to have issues in the long run. I mean, food and poop is going to get underneath, and it's going to cause that rotting aspect on there. So it's ideal to have it, to clean it on there. I know a lot of people love doing the layering stuff, but it just, I've dealt with it with the show tank right here, where it's, I have fluoride on the bottom and then I have the active soil on there, but I have to clean it so the fluoride works its way to the top. You have to do proper cleaning. If you don't do proper cleaning, you might have problems in the long run with ammonia spikes, and then or possibly cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria sucks because it starts making your tank smell like a pond. So if you ever walk by and your tank smells like a pond, you have cyanobacteria. Treat it. There's a product out there that, here it is. It's called ChemiClean. Boom. Works great for cyanobacteria. Just increase the oxygen flow in there. It's just one of those things where it's like a lot of times people will do an aquascape and they form a sand in there. It looks cool, but it's not made for long term because sooner or later everything's going to get mixed up in the tank. I'm telling you this as an aquascaper, it just gets mixed up. Same as when people do aquascapes that have the big giant ravines and they only leave like that much gap. All the detritus and stuff goes down there. How are you going to suck it out? You can't. It's dead. It's dead space. So my suggestion is just do the proper cleaning, or if you want to maintain your aquascape and everything, just do the best you can. Lessen your food. That's the biggest thing. Is out in the wild, fish and shrimp don't eat every single day. They don't. I feed my fish every other day in the store. I feed my shrimp twice a week, and then I put almond leaves in there so they can scavenge on there. All right. Kind of read all these right here. Please hit the thank you. Yes. Here's Monster Fish Gal. I'm just kind of get caught up on all this questions. Dee Dee's listing it all. Thank you, Dee Dee. All right. Some of us keepers only swirl the top of the soil when cleaning and not penetrate the substrate. It's purely 2 theories. Yeah, I agree with you. Swirl the top. But what happens if you get food or poop that go down to the bottom? When you swirl something, if you look at a Python substrate cleaner, okay, they're made for a certain reason. They're made to work a certain way. And if you don't use like a hammer, okay, a hammer's a hammer. It's made for hitting a nail. Do you use it as a wrench? No, you don't. Can you use a wrench? Some people take a wrench and they use it like a hammer. It's not what it's made for. A Python is made to work a certain way. It's the whole concept of why they have a long tube. It's not made to swirl around and suck up whatever it is. It's made to stick in the substrate, sucks them up, and when you pull it up, it causes a whirlwind, which pulls up all the debris. It's made a certain way. I know there's many different ways. The motto, many different ways to skin a cat. Okay, I don't skin a cat, but yes, there's many different ways to do a water change in your aquarium. I'm telling you from my experience, you need to clean the substrates. People overfeed, people don't clean the poop, and all of a sudden 6 months, 8 months go by, and they start having issues. And then it's like, Joe, what's going on with this? I'm like, well, show me your water parameters. And then they can't figure it out. I'm like, well, you're causing ammonia spike. Or the concept is why am I having cyanobacteria? Why am I having this algae bloom? Well, you're having an algae bloom because you have old poop, old food that finally broke free, caused an ammonia spike, and all of a sudden your bacteria found a food source and they're going after it. I mean, yes, there's many different ways to do stuff, but I'm trying to teach people how to be successful the way I do it. I've been doing it for 7 years, and I'm very successful at it. If you want to swirl, you can swirl. So there's a lot of different ways to do stuff. Let's see here. Good morning, y'all. Annette. Benson Moon, I think he's a bot. So I'm going to kind of like, I'm going to put him in timeout. There's another bot right there. Putting all these bots in timeout. Morning, Jess. Louisa Empress, how you doing? I'm just kind of get caught up on this. Monster Fish, Gail Jail. Great card here this morning. Yes, it is. I love it. I like shrimp. Who else likes shrimp? Papa says. Local Austin. All right. Just fill the bathtub and let them. Is that true, Mike? Any Facebook user, you have to go over and either register on StreamYard or you have to put your name. I'm thinking this is actually Mike on there. So, yeah. Let's see. Joe, thanks for explaining the relationship between water hardness and the molt. That totally makes sense to what I'm seeing here. A great learning response. Awesome. So I talked about the hardness of it. What about if the water's too soft? Let's say you use RO water and you don't remineralize. A lot of people have done this before where they hear people use RO, and they use RO or distilled and they never remineralize. So when they actually do buy a TDS meter or test their GHKH, they're like, oh, it's only reading 24. You need to have minerals back in your tank. It's kind of like we can't survive on pure oxygen. We need to have other stuff that we breathe. If the water is too soft, a shrimp can have problems molting where the shell stays on them. So a lot of times when a shrimp molts every month, so what happens is they flex. And when they release, the shell comes out. They come out. Now, what happens? That looks like a full shrimp. It should always look like your shrimp died, but it's just like a ghost of a shrimp. If you got bits and pieces around here and stuff, that means the water's too soft and they're having issues. So what happens if they molt and it's too soft? They're gonna spend a lot of energy trying to get that off, and they can get stressed out and die. If it's too hard, sometimes they can rip off their face. They can break their back on there too. Thank you, Papa Shrimp. Thank you for entertaining my son at Aquashella, Joe. Oh my God, yes, 100%. So Jay Oliver brought his son, and there were some points where he was kind of bored, putting his head on the table. I had to have fun. This is what I'm like, a giant kid when it comes to like other kids. I'm like, ooh, kids, I gotta play. I had fun. Jay Oliver, your son is great. There's a couple other kids that I played with. Let's see. I mean, that's a lot of general maintenance is for the right. Just got to stay up on it. Yeah, that's things. I do a water change once every 2 weeks. I mean, if you stay on top of your water changing and you stay on top of your maintenance, the tank's going to be successful for you. You just learn in time. Like in theory, like all these tanks here, I think it takes me, like if I do it by myself, it takes me about 6 hours to do all my water changes by myself. I have an employee that's supposed to help me. He just needs to learn how I do it. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do water changes. I just kind of let people know, this is my blood, sweat, and tears and my money that I invested into myself. I know how you do water changes at your house, but when you're here, you need to do water changes my way. It's just one of those things where, like feeding. He overfed. I lost some boas, some $1,000 boas and stuff. It's feed when lessen your food. If there's only 2 shrimp in the tank, you don't even need to feed the tank. Let them scavenge on the stuff. Just don't overfeed because that's where you cause the ammonia spikes in there. Can't chat lurking. Awesome. Let's see. I'm just putting other people in timeout. What's up? Hey, Tyler. How you doing? So Tyler Volk is here. Hey, Tyler. How are you? Tyler is the owner and creator of Liquid Gardens, the fertilizer and the remineralizer. He has a GH remineralizer. He also has liquid fertilizer and the powder fertilizer that I have on my site. Tyler, you need to stop at my store one of these times. You need to go do lunch. I'm hungry. Already took care of the bots. Yeah, I saw him on that when I just started like putting it on there and stuff. It happens. I have tried both. Here's Papa Shrimp. I have tried both methods and have to agree that actually burying the tube in the substrate and pulling out the detritus actually works better and gives you a great idea on how much is overfeed. Yes. So like my employee, he was doing water change yesterday. And I literally, I hate micromanaging people, but when it comes down to it, I'm trying to figure out why I'm having shrimp deaths in my tank because it never happened before. And then I started watching them like hover just over things fast. Like here, let's picture this python. Just go like this. And then I stopped him and I said, let me show you how this python works. Everybody, I mean, it doesn't have an instructional video on it. You just buy it and it's like people are like, oh, I start my siphon. Oh, it works really good. They don't understand the concept of how it's supposed to be made. And then I showed them, take your time. That's why I have the small one. So if you do the concept, let's say it's a 10-gallon tank. That thing is going to take, if you want to do 25% of the water coming out, 2.5 gallons, that's going to take a long time. But if you use that and you use it proper, I always drop my food in the same section of the tank. So when you drop the food on the same section of the tank, that place is always going to be the dirtiest. But if you take your time and you clean and you get it all clean, what you can do is you can use your bigger python or just a tube and suck out the rest of the water that you need to. It's going to be less algae in your tank, less blackbeard algae in your tank, less ammonia spikes in there, less bacteria blooms. I mean, it's a concept. I mean, you can ask anybody else. Tyler Volkson, he does tons of planted tanks. It's doing the proper husbandry in your aquarium, and not rushing it. Is there a type of driftwood that benefits shrimp more than others? So the whole concept of putting wood in your aquarium is tannins. Tannins can lower your pH. If you use spider wood, it doesn't release that much tannins in the water. So it's all about aesthetics of your aquarium. What happens too is when the bacteria starts eating up the sugars in the wood, it produces biofilms. Shrimp scavenge on that. If you use like a Malaysian driftwood or a Mopani wood, you are going to have brown water. It's just one of those things. You're going to have brown water. Spider wood, manzanilla wood, dockwood root. It's not going to have that much tannins in there. I also tell people, don't boil your wood. Don't. It's the whole concept is you're adding this to an aquarium to do a job. If it's the whole fact that you don't like tannins, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, put some activated carbon or purigen in there, let it soak. When you boil wood, the hot water breaks down the wood fibers. Okay? Proven fact. It breaks down the wood fibers. So that piece of wood that normally would be in a tank for 5 to 6 years is going to lessen the time because it's going to start getting mushy because the wood fibers are broken down. That's why I got tons of spiderwood. Spiderwood works great. Doesn't release that much tannins. It's a hard wood. It lasts longer in the tank. Same as like I don't boil almond leaves. I don't boil trail wood. The whole concept is the tannins are in there for a reason. It fights off bacteria infections. If you don't like the concept of having a brown water, use a harder wood. Don't use Mopani. Don't use Malaysian driftwood. Put a purigen in there. Of course, if you have Caridinas, you can't use the activated carbon because activated carbon is KH. It's going to raise your KH. Use purigen, and then you can reset your purigen too. Let's see here. Keeping Jeffrey Watts. What's this hobby? I'm just trying to get caught up. Answer questions. Completely understand. Do the same exact at the shop. Yes. So Misfit says, completely understand. I do the same exact thing at my shop. And I think we're talking about the Python. I would love to educate more people about the Python and how it actually works. And I've done videos where I'm doing water changes and I show people. So Brooklyn Bell, hey, how you doing? Let's see. Let's try and get up on caught of this. Everybody says good morning. People come in. If you boil your wood, that would hurt. Yeah, it would. Scott. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Let's see. See if there's any other questions getting caught up. Papa Shrimp, good morning. So there's another freaking bot. There it is right here. Let me just put them on timeout. You're on timeout. Perfect. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not trying to tell people you're doing it the wrong way, but some people are misinformed how to do stuff. And I'm just telling you as an expert of how I do it and how I'm successful. And hopefully if I'm successful at it and you kind of replicate what I'm doing, even if it's a few things, you might be more successful at doing it. Of course, I always tell people, find someone that's local. When it comes down to water chemistry, find someone that's local and being successful and follow what they do for the water chemistry. Due to the fact of my water here in Minnesota is different than what it is in Ohio, California, then Florida, then Texas. My water here in Minnesota, we have a lot of iron. So we have a lot of iron in our water. Okay. It's also, we have winter time. So what happens is the CO2 gets trapped in the ground because it freezes. Okay. So the CO2 doesn't get released. So a lot of times in the winter time, you have lower pH, like in the 6s. But if you actually just put it in a bucket, let it sit overnight with an air stone, it'll go back up to neutral. Or in the 7s and stuff. It's just one of those concepts is find someone that's local for the water chemistry. Now, for shrimp in the TDS, I kind of covered that look, if you want to be successful, this is kind of where we all keep our stuff, and we're successful at it. If you kind of replicate what we're doing, you're going to be successful as well. And I don't mind answering people's questions. Most of these breeders, Eric Lucas, Flip Aquatics, Papa Shrimp, we don't have a problem talking to you guys and having you be more successful. But at the same sense, you have to take our advice. There's many times that people come in my store and they have issues and they ask me a question and I start explaining to them and I watch them do this because they're not listening. And then I kind of stop what I'm doing because it's one of those. It's hard to give someone advice, not have them take the answer and actually listen to you. Listen to what the advice we're giving. If you still want to do it your way, do it your way. Just when you start having issues, we're trying to help you. Also, do research. Do research when you're setting up a tank. Do research on your substrate. Do research on the plants. Do research on shrimp. It's one of those things. I don't mind helping you be successful, but you have to help yourself too. I can't have like 8 million questions a day with the same things when it's like I'm trying to tell you. Now, Papa Shrimp, I'm not saying I have done it wrong before. Just maybe I'm a stubborn and learned the hard way. We all are the same way, Papa Shrimp. I'm telling you. There's a lot of things I do that are wrong. I'm kind of stuck in my ways, but certain things like when it comes down to shrimp, I kind of like done the research. I've done the questions on there. I've done the ask Eric, ask Flip, setting up, and I just learned. I started finding stuff myself. Just reading it. And wrong because it's too damn expensive, 100%. I'll tell you this right now. Go buy some boas. Go buy some $500 to $1,000 shrimp. Put them in an aquarium. Put them in at 2.5. Okay, put them in at 2.5, and then start trying to breed them. And talk to me in 2 years if you talk to me in a year if you still have the same colony. Because if you start having random deaths, there's the reason why you're having these random deaths. And it's all back to the basics. Not overfeed, proper water changes, good husbandry in the aquarium. Are Caridina sensitive CO2 dosing? So they're more sensitive to a pH swing. So usually when you do CO2 injections in your tank, so here's the thing is, CO2 injections is different than using liquid carbon. Liquid carbon isn't liquid carbon. It's glutamaldehyde. It's an anti-algicide. It's not a carbon at all. Don't use the little tablets because it's all it is, like an Alka-Seltzer. Don't use liquid carbon. Liquid carbon is just glutamaldehyde. It's nothing. It's no carbon in there for plants to survive. It's just an algicide because most times people use the liquid carbon due to the fact they have algae. So, and then all of a sudden they start missing their algae and like, oh, this is perfect. It's working. No, it's glutamaldehyde. CO2 injection with a regulator. Ideally, when you dose CO2, you should never have your pH swing too much from when it's on, from when it's off. Let's say you're going for a 6.8. That's the pH you're going for. It's a 6.8. If when your CO2 shuts off, if your tank at the high point reaches 7.0, it's decent because it's only a 0.2 difference. If you're going from a 6.0 to a 7.4 overnight, that's way too much. They're not. That'd be super stressful. It'd be like me that's at sea level going to Colorado and then wonder why I have headaches and stuff. Wonder why I don't feel well. It's the fact of, look, you're doing too much of a pH swing. So when you first get a CO2 regulator, you got to kind of like research it. You have to test your water. You have to see when you want it on, when you want it off, so you don't get a high pH swing. So, son, another great show today. Oh, it's my dad. Hey, it's my dad. Say hi, everybody. So when you come on, you got to go over and say, so I wouldn't notice without you said son and stuff. Oh yeah, pressurized all the way. Perfect, Brandon. The aquatic morning show is coming on after me, which is completely fine. I don't have it, so all I can do is I can look at the time when I started and stuff. So the aquatic morning show is coming on afterwards. She's doing a live stream for members only. So if you haven't become a member on her page, please become a member on the page. You can watch her Wednesdays on there. I also have membership available on mine, which gets you 10, 15 to 20% off. I'm going to do more videos for members only. So if you haven't become a member, please become a member of my show too. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, so you get the notifications. If you hit the subscribe button and you do not go over and hit the follow button, then you're not going to get the notifications that I'm doing my lives and stuff. I mean, you got to go over and do that. I appreciate all you guys out there. Becoming a member of my page helps me out, helps me get the equipment I use for the recording, like this. Here's my normal camera that I end up using for my live stream with the shotgun mic. It works great because of the fact of when I talk to it, it doesn't pick up the other voices around there, and it worked great when I was at Aquashella. It's one of those, anything helps for us. So let's see the high current one. There's that one. So there's Brooklyn Bell, Misfits. Great stream today. Thank you, Misfit. I appreciate it. If at any time you guys want me to do a specific type of video, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on coming up with the content that I think you guys might like. There's the membership on there for mine. So I'm going to talk to you for a couple more minutes. Thank you guys for coming out here. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. I know when I started my page or my YouTube, I wasn't planning to do lives. Now I'm doing lives weekly. I kind of look forward to it half the time. Like last night, I was just like, oh, shoot, what am I going to talk about? And I've had people say, hey, talk about the care of plants. Talk about this. It's like, I can talk about the care of plants, but I'd rather I'm known for Joe Shrimp. Okay. Joe Shrimp Shack. I'm not Joe Plant Man and stuff like this. I'd rather have someone like Tyler come onto my page and talk about plants and stuff because that's his specialty. Yeah, I do aquascapes. I'm not a professional aquascaper, but I do aquascapes, but I know about shrimp. So me talking about the care of plants, I can tell you how I take care of my plants, but this may not be how Tyler takes care of his plants. So I'd rather have someone that's an expert on there. So maybe we can get Tyler on there once again. Let's do this. I'm here listening while I empty and transfer a shrimp tank in preparation for a larger upgrade. Yes. So Poetic Song, I'm glad you're doing that. So, save if you use a sponge filter, just put that sponge filter in there and it's going to speed up the process a lot more. I always learn something, usually something I have already done wrong, but at least move forward. Yes. I mean, it's one of those things where there's many different ways to do stuff. I'm just telling you the way I do it in hopes that if you take anything from my live or anything from what I talk about, maybe it'll make you more successful. If you're already successful, cool. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for talking. Everything else. But if you're learning something, cool. Just keep on learning stuff. I mean, I want to learn stuff all the time. Like I didn't know about the whole cigarette filters on aquascaping. I'll be doing a video on that. So I learned that from Brooklyn Bell. Brooklyn Bell, when I was out in Aquafest down in North Carolina, she told me about the whole cigarette, but I didn't believe it. I'll do a video on it. I'll explain what it does. It's cigarette button super glue. It works pretty cool. But yeah. Good to see you, Joe. I'll be rewatching the beginning just in case I missed you talking about it, but I need information on dosing for Hydra and Planaria. I have no Planaria, but I haven't used it yet. All right, so basically, Hydra and Planaria, it's super simple. How you normally get it is by plants and everything else that you buy from someone else. Super simple. No Planaria is the same concept as my Z1 that I use. Usually it's one level scoop. Let me just kind of cover that up there. One level scoop for a 10-gallon tank. Let it sit for 48 hours. I like to dose a second time just in case there's more in the substrate. Then you dose another level scoop. I let it sit for 24 hours. Then I do a water change. Some instructions say let it sit for 7 days. Now, I've had people say that letting it sit for 7 days, they've had not shrimp deaths, but snail deaths. So I like to do one level scoop for 10 gallons, let it sit for 48 hours, do another level scoop, let it sit for 24 hours, and then do your water change 25 to 30%. You get a hold of me afterwards. I can answer your questions for you. I've had constant mistakes. I always try to learn from and not repeat this 100%. It is the great, yes, Berkeley Bell. Would you experiment with different filters like undergravel box? I don't like using undergravel filters. Straight up, I don't. It sucks food and poop through the substrate, gets caught there. It's the whole concept. The box that Papa Shrimp was talking about is a different concept. It goes in the corner of your tank and it's easy to remove. Joe, you're probably pretty moss savvy since shrimp and moss go hand in. Yeah, I mean it does. Thanks, Tyler. But I'd like you to talk about plants one of these days. All right, I'm trying to get this. I dose the same way. Joe works great. Yes, most definitely. So my time should be up right now. I don't know if Jess is already ready to fire up. Of course, I'm doing it off my phone, so I can't see on there if she's ready to go. But Jess is having hers on Mains, Tails, Fern, Fin that follow me right there. Yeah, just go ahead. I 100% I can help you do this and stuff. So, guys, I want to thank you. If you haven't become a member, become a member. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the follow button. Leave a comment, guys. I love you. I want you guys to have a shrimptastic day. Okay, guys? Have a good one.